Nobody can convince me that the West, and in particular in this video, Europeans, do not like immigrants. You cannot convince me at all. Whether you're born in Europe or you went to Europe by a boat or a plane, they don't care. They hate you and they despise you. And that's the truth. Because I've had conversations with some of these people, and the way they think about immigrants, the way they think about refugees, the way they think about people of color who were born, some of them were born in that country, in that region, in that continent. The way they think about these people is shameful. And right now, we're seeing them reap the fruits of their hate. We're seeing them pay for the hate and the enslavement that they've perpetuated over the years. You think I'm lying? We'll get to it. We'll get to it. But a scholar that I deeply respect, PLO, says, for all the sins that France has committed against Africans and people of color, now they're paying for it because these people have had enough.
This is unfair to say, but I'll say it. For France, the chicken are coming home to roost. They are now being reminded of what they did to Guinea in 1958. They are being reminded of what they did to Algeria. They are being reminded of what they did in Indonesia and other parts of the world. I hope that this very painful lesson is going to send a clear message to the French administration that the time is now to accept and acknowledge that the injustices that are inbuilt in the French system will be dealt with, and dealt with satisfactorily with people participation.
Hello there, how are you doing? Welcome to another episode of our conversations. My name is Ondiro Oganga. I'm a business journalist by profession and a digital content creator. I love coming on here, having conversations with you guys about Black people, Africans, our empowerment, and how we can rise up and take our rightful place at the global stage. You can always connect with me on social media at Ondiro Oganga on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Today, I want us to talk about something that I do not really talk about on the channel or on my videos, because I am very big on Africa, but I don't think that Africa is just a continent. Our people are everywhere, you know, and there has always been hate against Black people all over the world. It doesn't matter where you were. I don't know who perpetuated this concept that superiority, human superiority, is based off of skin color. White people will look down upon, you know, Asians. Asians will look down upon Arabs. Arabs will find a way of looking down upon Africans. Lighter Africans look down upon mid-tone Africans. Mid-tone Africans look down upon darker Africans. And I sit there and wonder, who decided that the supreme race is the whitest of white? Who decided that? Who decided that the value that we put on your life is based off of your skin tone? Who decided that? Who decided that it doesn't matter that you people helped build our countries and our continent, and now you're our partners and our equals in this journey of life and development? To them, we're still inferior. Like, who decided that? And it's world over. It's world over. Even on the African continent, it exists. And you know, I think because of how much media attention it has been getting, America is getting to a place where these things are out in the open and conversations are being had. And sometimes we see justice being served because Black people are making noise. You will not touch a Black person and not hear the voice of Black people. And sometimes, though it doesn't amount to much, it's so important that Black people are beginning to speak for themselves. And the same thing is happening in Europe, in particular France. Black people are beginning to speak out for themselves. People of color are beginning to say, you will not treat us the way you've treated us for the past 50, 60 years. We're not going to contend with it. Before we get into the details, let's just, you know, let's put it into context. You remember that French Spider-Man, when there was a baby, I think, about to fall out of a building and stuff. And there was this immigrant, I think he was from West Africa, from Central Africa, who scaled up the building, risking his life just to go and save that person. And after they'd saved them, then the French president gave them French citizenship. Yeah. Do you see how messed up that is? That you just can't get citizenship unless you do something out of the ordinary. You have to be an extraordinary Black person or African to be able to belong in those communities. Let's take a look at also global TikToker Kabilame, born and bred in Italy, but didn't get his Italian citizenship until he became a global sensation. So unless you're an extremely high achiever, there's no place for you in that country. It's the same thing with these national football teams. It's the same thing in France. It's the same thing even in the UK. When we are winning, then we are French. We are British. Then when you lose, you remember that time where all the Black boys in the English team missed their penalties and there was so much vile and hateful comments towards them and calling them Black and calling them all sorts of names. Karim Benzema has spoken about it also in the French team, where he says, when we're winning, we're French. And then when anything happens that doesn't feed the French ego, then we're outsiders. You know, you pick and choose when you want us. Now, let's get to the serious issue. There was a child that was shot by the police. And I say a child because if you're under the age of 18, I don't care how tall you are, I don't care how well built you are, you're a child. The law stipulates that you're a child. And the police shot a child. And when body cam footage came out, it showed that the child was unarmed. Do you know the amount of hatred? Because as a police officer, you have the training. If you knew you didn't want to be a police, you could have gone to be a pilot. But you chose to be brave enough, or a teacher. You chose to be brave enough to go to the police academy. You've been given the tips and tools on how to de-escalate situations, on how to protect yourself, to protect lives. But the first thing you do is draw a gun at a child and shoot them and then lie about it. And so people have been very angry. And it has been a long time coming because this abuse did not just start with people of color in France. France has gotten away with genocides, with atrocities on the African continent, with torture, with murder, with abuse. Right? They've gotten away with so many things. They've gotten away with coups. They've gotten away with economic abuse. They've gotten away with democratic abuse. And so impunity is now ingrained in the French DNA. And they think they're superior and any other person who's not French is inferior. You know, and Europeans have a very skewed way of processing immigration and immigrants that they'll be like, go back to your country, as if it was that easy. Even to get them out of the African continent, they're still here until today, is not that easy. These issues are very complex. But in as much as it's sad, Professor Dr. PLO says it's a good thing that it's happening because now we are beginning to draw the lines and say this is acceptable and this is not acceptable. I don't care if you think I'm not French enough. For as long as I am here, you're going to respect me as a human being. And he also says that the chicken, the French chicken, are coming home to roost. You can only get away with so much. A time comes when it catches up with you. And the time for France to pay for its dues is now. Whether they learn from it or not, that's up to them. But until they learn, it will keep happening.
There have been migrants to France. If you go to cities such as Marseille, you will be surprised at the population of Moroccans, Aboriginal Moroccans and Algerians who are there. If you are in Paris and Nantes and Lyon, you'll be surprised at the number of Africans who have migrated to France and who are now French citizens. Yet the French system is a system that is still controlled by a few racist Caucasians who run the political machine and who have created a policing system that is inclined towards dealing with non-indigens to mean Caucasians on the basis that they are guilty until they prove themselves innocent. As long as that is the culture that dominates in France, then the riots are just but the logical outcome of it. For 5 days on, the country cannot operate. Of course, it pains one when individuals' properties are destroyed through looting and all, but it is the language, rioting is the language of the unheard. If you have been speaking loudly for a long time, then violence becomes the language of the unheard. And it is a lesson to France. In fact, this is unfair to say, but I'll say it. For France, the chicken are coming home to roost. They are now being reminded of what they did to Guinea in 1958. They are being reminded of what they did to Algeria. They are being reminded of what they did in Indonesia and other parts of the world. I hope that this very painful lesson is going to send a clear message to the French administration that the time is now to accept and acknowledge that the injustices that are inbuilt in the French system will be dealt with and dealt with satisfactorily with people participation. And it's also a warning to other countries in Europe. Spain had better look. Portugal had better be on the lookout. Italy had better be on the lookout. Greece had better be on the lookout. It is a message that is being sent to Europe. If you don't style up and you don't treat other human beings like human beings and you call them animals, then with due respect to animals, they'll behave like animals.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this conversation. Give this video a thumbs up, leave your comment down below, and I'll see you again next time. You can always connect with me on social media at Ondiro Oganga. See you next time.